actions is.
There it is. Okay.
Got it.
All right. So I would like to welcome Liz Carroll to speak to us today about money mindsets. And if hopefully you got an opportunity to watch her little video that she prepared for us that had an exercise. And I did that little exercise, and I have some kind of funny answers that I want to share if we have time. But anyway, Liz, tell us a little bit about your money mindset and why this is such an important thing for us to be thinking about.
Well, money is essential, right? Whether we like it or not, money is essential. So for how we show up to our money and is how we think about money. Often we don't even take the time to step back and think, what am I thinking about money? So that's why the exercise is so helpful to uncover, what do you think about money? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, it's essential. And while our finances, money doesn't buy happiness. You've heard that before, right? Well, I will tell you, it does provide options. And that is something that when we have more options, we can have more growth. And growth is the key to happiness, in my opinion, my belief. So indirectly, I think money does buy happiness. So that's why I think it's essential.
Well, and so when you say, finding out more about our mindset, mm-hmm. We're talking about things that we've learned from our past, from our, our experiences, from our families, the messages we get that kind of influence our beliefs, and our beliefs then affect how we behave.
That is correct. And it's not, they're unconscious typically. So you don't even know that you're thinking that. And you take the time and give yourself the grace and space to explore, what am I thinking about money? And like I said, women don't talk about money. It's not like something we sit around and, we're much more likely to talk about our sex lives than our financial life. And so when we take the time to intentionally decide, what do I want to believe about money? And, it's a taboo topic. So giving yourself the time to explore will, when you intentionally decide, do I want to believe that? So here's the unconscious on this hand and the conscious on this hand. When I intentionally decide, what do I want to believe about money? Now, it could be that you want to believe everything you're already believing. Mm-hmm. That could be the truth, your truth. But then you step into your power with it intentionally.
That's funny, as you're talking about what are your beliefs about money, I'm thinking one of the funny things that popped into my head as I was answering those questions. The last question was, rich people are.
Yeah.
And my answer was, rich people are lucky. And I thought, boy, isn't that an interesting belief, right? Like here, I work hard, right? I have worked hard my whole life to provide what I want to have, my college degree, all of it, right? Yeah. But I believe that rich people are lucky. Like, how much power is in that? It's just kind of bizarre.
Yeah. And is that true, right? Questioning, is that true? You can believe that. You are welcome. You are a grown adult. You are welcome to believe whatever you want. But do you want to believe that rich people are lucky?
No, because I want to believe that I can make my future, right? I want to believe that I'm in charge of my own financial choices and my future and my, making money. And making decisions about money. So it is fascinating, though, that's what came up for me. Rich people are lucky. That's like,
yeah. Well, and so does that thought, this is where we go deeper in here, right? This is why I give the simple exercise to start scratching the surface to unearth the money story, right? All the sentences together create the money story. As we scratch the surface here, is the thought, rich people are lucky, does that repel you from gaining wealth because you either identify or don't identify as lucky? Does that?
Yeah. Or I don't seize the power that it takes, whatever that is, hard work, education, trying new things, whatever that is, right?
Well, and there's an old saying there that luck happens when opportunity meets preparedness, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I think is so essential about this money story and unearthing it is that you start seeing more opportunities. So therefore you become luckier.
Right. So talk a little bit about what are some of the things you see in working with women around money what are some of the ways they limit themselves, and then what changes when they work with you? What kinds of change could they expect?
I think that what I just mentioned about the seeing more opportunities,
Yeah.
they're capable, like they're confident to maybe apply for that higher level job that at a higher income. That is really where it comes down to, and just intentionally deciding how do I want to show up to my money, not only for me, but for my children. That's the other part, is how do I model money to my kids, and how do I intentionally decide that, rather than just letting, like what I experienced with my mom is, I don't think my mother was ever intentionally taught me about money, but she may have taught me some things not to do.
Right.
Makes sense. So you may want to decide, when you are intentional and conscious about how you want to think about money, that ripple effects out into your immediate family and your community. So when you ask about what are the exact, I want to make sure I answer your question. What do I see? I see women that are not taking the time to think about what they want to think about money, and then making the connection with their values, how they spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear, a woman say, my most important value is my children, So then it's like, okay, are you spending your money or your time? What are you spending on your children, money or time? Does that
Right?
the question? Because if you're saying, I don't have the money to do the things I want to do with the kids, but we're buying the wine of the month club or whatever it is, where the money is going, isn't going into what the value is, then it's a mismatch. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So a really important piece of this is establishing your values, really learning about what are my top values and how do I use those to shape the decisions that I make about money.
Yeah, and intentionally ahead of the time before the money comes in, setting the guide rails by category as to how much do I want to spend in each category. Those guide rails, that safety, those boundaries, lets you stay within what you've intentionally decided with your prefrontal cortex, your higher brain, rather than getting caught up in the moment of impulsive buying or trying to please others using money.
With the money, right? We had a discussion last week about money, you and I, and the guide rail thing was really helpful for me because I recognize that so many of my decisions get made out of fear, that I'm afraid that I'm going to make a mistake with a person, right? I told you I have big buyer's remorse, and it's funny to me because like I have buyer's remorse, my sister has buyer's remorse, my kids have buyer's remorse. It's like, okay, so there's something here there's a message, there's some place that we've learned that. But what I liked about it was you gave me a really concrete sentence to work with. And I've been thinking a lot about that this week and kind of using it about, I no longer have buyer's remorse because I make wise money choices. And so when I have that kind of thought of, oh gosh, should I be spending this money, or is this the right patio furniture? That's been my project lately. Is this the right patio furniture, for the dollar? I make wise money decisions. I need to trust that I can make a good money decision. And those guardrails, even if I went too far one direction or the other direction, I'm going to, as long as I'm in the middle somewhere in the general balance of it all, okay, right?
Yeah. And that's where you stay safe, because with women, we start feeling insecure. We want to feel secure with money. And we feel safe with money is when we've intentionally decided ahead of time. You set those perimeters. The other thing is you intentionally decided to believe, where the beliefs come in, because our beliefs create our results, right? So if you believe now, Holly, that you make wise choices, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to make wise choices. Yeah. And that is the power. That is where women step into their power, is claiming what do they value, assigning a dollar amount to that value intentionally, and then executing on it.
So tell us a little bit about what your program inside you have a group, and inside your group, what kinds of things are you teaching people besides this? I mean, this is obviously a base place to start.
Yeah, the mindset is so important because I've been a financial coach for years. So I'm a financial coach and I'm a life coach, and then I'm a yoga teacher over the top. So what was happening is I was working with people, individuals, and setting up spending plans or debt payoff plans or all these beautiful spreadsheets, basically, because that's the financial coach side. But if you don't believe that that's what you want, or if we've set that and it's not in alignment with your values, you're not going to do it. So that's why the life coach part comes in, is managing the mind. Finding the thoughts that you and I worked on last week that so beautifully help you. It's like, oh, I make wise choices. So I'm going to buy the patio furniture. I've assigned the money, right? I've assigned the money. Now I can spend it without remorse because I make wise choices. So that's what I teach so I teach the financial part, like how to set up the guide rails, how to set up the spending plan. And then I teach how to execute it with using mindset. And I do that in a calm way using the yoga and mindfulness over the top. So that's what I teach.
What a nice combination.
I call it the trifecta, right? It's my own mind, body, spirit. It's like math, it's the math, mind, and the soul is how I think of it. Because the soul is really coming down to making sure you're staying in your truth. Like when you buy and spend in your truth, then there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no hiding purchases. There's all kinds of things happen with women when they're spending out of their guidelines. Does that?
Yeah. Well, I think about it in terms of Brene Brown's talking about authenticity and integrity. It's like when we live with authenticity and we have integrity about the choices that we make, then everything kind of comes together naturally. There is no shame. There's no negative emotions that we need to then kind of, deal with or cope with, or, problems in relationships as a result of hidden agendas or whatever it is, And I think a lot of women that probably will watch this are women who have come out of a major life change, like a divorce, or their kids have now left home and they've been stay-at-home moms for their whole, most of their adulthood, and they're trying to make decisions about what's their future going to look like. And I think it's a really frightening time for a lot of people. And so I like that there's concrete things that you can do to kind of help you move along that path that empower you and help you feel like, you got some control over your future.
And that's the one thing that women want when they come to me, is I want control of my financial future. I want to feel secure in my financial future. And so that's how we create the financial plan for that, to get them there. What are the top 3 goals? What do you want? And how do we execute it, including the mindset? So there's actions that come out of that, but we have to have the mindset to take the action, because we know our beliefs, what we believe about ourselves and money, create our results. The other thing is that you are in control of your money story. So many people don't give them, and particularly women, we don't give a time and attention to what the background noise of the thoughts that are playing. I call it the radio station in the video. So that radio station, and actually tuning in to our favorite channel intentionally, rather than what we would have maybe learned from teachers, parents, ex-husbands, anyone, early boyfriends that tell us how we show up to money. My example is my parents very much labeled us girls, and we didn't have to be does that make sense? It's like, I didn't have to be the one that wasn't good with money, and my sister was the one with good money. We could have been both. Does that make sense? There's times she's not good with money, and there's times I'm good with money. It's like and rather than or.
Right. Well, I love that, because I do think so much of our outcome of our day is impacted by our intentions. And if we make a conscious choice to make, an intentional decision to see our lives in a certain way, or to begin our day in a way, or to like include something in our day, we're much more likely to be successful in getting the result that we want.
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe that. And the other part is examining those thoughts. So the 5 sentences the questions I ask in the video are: money is what, debt is what, and who taught you about money or told you how you are with money. That's the other one, the who. And then when it comes to money, I'm afraid of what, list out what you're afraid of, maybe not having enough or whatever the thought is coming up for you. And then the last one is rich people are, which you have already shared yours. And looking at those 5 sentences together, and like I said, that's the start of the money story. Reading them together and then really tuning into the body. This is the yoga part coming in, right? Tuning into the body, the mindfulness. Where do you feel it in the body? And what's the one word emotion that comes up for you? And if that emotion, which you and I have already talked about, is negative, then we know we're not going to get a positive result.
Right.
So that's where we intentionally shift. And sometimes it can be a small shift. Like, for example, one that comes up so often, I hear it, it's the first response, is money is hard. And if you believe money is hard, guess what? Money is going to be hard. So if we want to make a small shift, we might say money is hard and it's okay. It's okay that money's hard, because that in the body, that gives just a slight little bit of relief. So us shifting into the direction of money is easy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is how the action you can take out of this is tuning into the emotion and then naming it.
One more quick thing that I want to put in before I know you have to go is we talked a little bit about the who that shapes our money. And I think something that I want you to speak up just a minute about is forgiveness, because I think so many times our who is somebody that we might be angry with for having taught us that. Like if you're really bad with money and you learn from your parents that never saved, then you might have resentment. So deal with that.
Well, and this is I would say that is the number one emotion that I deal with when I'm working with women, because my particular clients tend to be either the solo breadwinner in their relationship or the major breadwinner in their relationship. So that breeds some resentment in our societal structure that most of us have grown up with, right? That's not where it's supposed to be. My mother gave me a thought to think very intentionally. I mean, she handed it to me like it was a gift, to think never make more money than your husband. And I accepted that, like, oh, wise advice. That's a wise advice. And then I found out it wasn't, because it wasn't true for me. I wanted to step into my career, and it was okay that my husband had a different values about work and earning money. My husband's a cancer survivor, so he wasn't as driven as I was, because he had already faced death. Yeah, what was important. And that thought that my mother gave me, like I said, she handed it to me like a gift. I had to come back to that and go, oh, I know why she said that. She was the first woman in our family to work outside the home. My mother had struggles with my father about her earning money. She literally gave me a gift. I didn't have to accept it. Does that make sense? And I also was able to step back and say, oh, I forgive you for causing this friction in me adopting that thought. So I took it on, and that caused friction in my relationship. I was believing something I didn't believe. I didn't want to believe it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that and for sharing today. And I'm going to put your contact info along with this video So anybody can reach out if they want some more guidance. I know you have a course on this topic.
I do. I have a full course. In fact, I'm going to do a live course in July and August, which is new for me. I'm mindfulmoneymethod.com. And the live course is we're going to go through 9 weeks of this. We're going to do the math part, which is like create the structure. And then we're going to do the mindset. And we're also doing a module on relationships and money. So yeah, I feel very passionate about raising financially independent adult children. And that is one of the most challenging money relationships is parent-child. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That sounds fun. So
yeah, so I'll do that this summer. So thank you, Holly, for having me. I can't wait to have you in my group 2 weeks from now. So this is fun. I love this Oregon women empowerment that we've got going on here.
I do too. Let's keep it up. Strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I believe I'll leave this belief. I believe women do the most good with money. I believe women having money do the most good. So yeah.
I think you're naturally kind of inclined to take care of other people and beings and have big hearts about that. And I think that, yeah, that would be so nice to be able to do that with money.
Yeah, totally. And you can. Every one of you can. So, all right. Thanks so much. I really appreciate your time, Holly.